What would you be without the championship? That was a question posed to Hangman Adam Page this week on AEW Dynamite as we go on the go home towards a stacked Revolution this coming Sunday, which should be a fantastic show. But right now, we're going to break down everything that happened on AEW Dynamite this morning over here in a very dull, wet, and windy United Kingdom. May not look like it because you can see some brightness on my face, but I can assure you the weather is hideous over here right now, in Cornwall anyway. So apologies if you're getting any reflection off of it onto here. But nevertheless, Dynamite was done. And in the books, and what a way to kick off AEW Dynamite, by the way. John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli of the Death Riders against Konosuke Takeshita and Hechichero. Here we go. I'm getting there with these names, right? Bang. um, I like the finish of this match. It was an interesting one. I'll get to the finish in a minute. Um, Obviously on this one, well, actually, we'll talk about it right now. The finish of the match was an inside cradle by Castagnoli on Hedgechero. There we go. First time I've tried. Got it right. Second time. Anyway, an inside cradle by Claudio Castagnoli on Hedgechero gets the job done. I liked it because obviously Moxley and Takeshita are going to Revolution on Sunday. You can't really have any one of those two eat the pin. I would have felt that Claudio Castagnoli, if the Death Riders were gonna lose, was going to be the fall guy. The same with Hedgechero, and that was going to be the case. But I did like the fact that they made sure that neither of those two got pinned ahead of such a big championship match. And like, if roles were reversed, if it was Claudio and Hedgechero going to the pay-per-view in a title match, you would expect either Moxley or Takeshita to eat the pin. Yeah, it was an inside cradle. The Death Riders are going and heading to a lot of momentum here. And I think that because of the momentum they got going in, my prediction would be that Takeshita is going to win on Sunday. Could be wrong, but I would think that that would be the case. But it was after the match where things started going even more crazier. Lance Archer, Mark Davis hit in the ring. They assaulted both Claudio and Moxley. And then as Marina Shafir went in, Lance Archer, I think he just shoulder tackled her to the ground. But then Takeshita was given a steel chair to really weaken Moxley ahead of the big show. On Sunday, he decides against it, which was a bit interesting how they didn't like that at the Don Callis family. But he is confident that he'll take care of Moxley on Sunday. The only thing here is that it's clear that we've got, I would say, issues within both, but we know Okada and Takeshita are kind of edging towards a feud of some sorts. We kind of thought the Death Riders were coming to an end, and we was expecting Moxley to be kicked out of the Death Riders by now. So the only sort of question going into Revolution is if one of the could Moxley get the victory and then have Takeshita kicked out of the Don Callis family at the same time. So there is a little bit there of a question mark as regarding who's won. I think Takeshita's favorite, but it wouldn't be surprising if the roles were reversed on that one. That's for sure. Now, obviously, there is a opportunity here for MJF to talk some business, and he does with Carl Fletcher. And he was it's basically saying that Carl Fletcher's take Speedball Mike Bailey out for him in his upcoming TNT Championship match. And Carl Fletcher was like, I'm going to take care of business, but for myself. But it does pose a question, and it was a question that I think Fletcher is wondering himself, and that is MJF and the Don working with Don Callis? I'm not saying MJF's going to be a part of Don Callis family, but is he looking to move? Is MJF looking for ways to beat Hangman Adam Page, and does he see the Don Callis family as a way of him winning? And if he does, what's the favor going to be in return? Because Don Callis surely wouldn't do anything without a favor being required the other way around, right? You would think that, wouldn't you? We'll have to wait and see on Dynamite, but that is something that we have to maybe take into consideration going into Revolution this coming Sunday. Now, on that note, we actually go backstage with Persephone and Willow Nightingale. Now, Persephone won the CMLL Women's World Championship from Mercedes Moné, and they had a bit of a fighting exchange because they've got an upcoming TBS title match on Dynamite as well. So I like the sound of that. Those two again, butting horns in the ring. Persephone's a really impressive specimen, and Willow Nightingale is just. I just don't think you can but not smile every time you see Willow in the ring. So I'm looking forward to that. But we go to the aforementioned match between Carl Fletcher and Speedball Mike Bailey for the TNT Championship, of course. And this totally lived up to expectations. If you remember their match in the Continental Classic, it went just along the same lines. Speedball was brilliant with all the counters. He was like, you could tell that he's done his homework on Carl Fletcher. All the counters that he put together in this match were absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed it. And it was kind of a David v Goliath in many ways. I mean, Carl Fletcher isn't a tall, presence, but he's he's a brute in a lot of ways with Speedball looking at the kicks and the quickness. Um, I would, yeah, with the strikes and the quickness in a lot of ways in this as well. There was a lot of near falls in the closing stretch, and I don't always like a lot of near falls, but I think if the match needs it, and I felt as if this needed it, just to sort of open up the potential of there being a championship opportunity or a championship at stake, that there needs to be a lot of near falls in this particular contest, which there was, of course. However, it was the aforementioned Carl Fletcher that hit Mike Bailey with the championship before hitting the brainbuster and getting the victory for the win. I didn't think and there was also a bit of outside interference in this from Klitschko Okada and Mark Davis. Um I didn't think it needed the interference unless they're building towards Speedball perhaps taking that championship from Carl Fletcher, then I could understand it a little bit better. Um, but I really like Smash. There's something about the near falls in this match. I don't think they're necessarily needed, but I was glad that they happened because it added a little bit of compellingness to the potential change of championship. But nevertheless, I didn't expect Carl Fletcher to lose the championship on this Dynamite edition anyway, but it was fantastic. I did enjoy it. The match itself was brilliant and more of the same, please. We did get a nice squash match as well straight after Brody King hit the Gonzo bomb. But as he was making his way to the back, he is caught in chains by a masked man who shoves him into the ring post. And that masked man, of course, was Swerve Strickland. And again, there's Reigns, as he was putting the chains around Brody's neck, Brody snaps him in half, and you could see Swerve's face. He was like, "Oh my God, what's happened here?" And as he tried to stroke Swerve, Prince Nana comes to this distraction, allowing Swerve to break away. Really looking forward to their match actually at Revolution and seeing what way it goes. I think that's a tough one to pick. I would imagine Swerve will get the victory somehow, of course. But it's just how. That's what I'm looking forward to, and that's where I'm going to be looking at on Revolution on Sunday. How Swerve gets the victory. I don't know, and it's one of those ones, and you can keep saying, these are all kind of 50-50 matches, and they really are 50-50 matches when you come to think of it. Really excited looking into that, and we'll find out what happens. But we'll find out what happens on Sunday. Now we go back to the back, and Speedball Bailey, he's had a bit of a loss, and he says, he could stand here and complain, but that's not who he is. He says Donk's family have got on the upper hand tonight, but Mystico and Jet Speed will get them back this Sunday at Revolution, in obviously a kind of hotly anticipated encounter. That one will be this coming Sunday. Tag team action next. Now, over the last few weeks, Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin have had a war dog problem And this week, we obviously saw the debut of David Finlay last week to AEW, and that's strengthening up the War Dogs, Gabe Kidd, Clark Connors, and now David Finlay. So it was a different tag match this week because we had Gabe Kidd and Clark Connors. This week we had Gabe Kidd and David Finlay. Um, and it was the kind of what happened at the end, which, it was a solid tag match anyway, but it was the action that happened at the end which made the match a lot better. And we'll get into it in a minute, but the War Dogs did hit Darby Allin with a lot of offense before the power driver from Gabe Kidd picked up the victory. I feel as if it was a much needed victory because since they've come in, Clark Connors and well, I mean, David Finley's only been there a week, but since Clark Connors has come in, they haven't really hit the ground running as such. And I feel as if this win was absolutely needed for it to, capitalize, what's the word? Send them off, the War Dogs off, get them up and running, so to speak. That's the word I think that I was looking for. Anyway, it was really good. Again, but like I said, it was the aftermath of this match. Now, after the match, Orange Cassidy gets hit with a spear. The War Dogs then call out Roderick Strong, who was a part of Orange Cassidy in the conglomeration. Um, and he gets hold of Orange Cassidy but shoves him onto the War Dogs and attacks the War Dogs and clears the ring. And Roderick Strong, Orange Cassidy, and Darby Allin stand tall. So for a long time, we was expecting Roderick Strong to turn. It didn't happen, and as such, he's realigned himself with Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, and of course Darby Allin in this case. I still think that heel turn could be in the works. Maybe this was a great smoke screen off so that it throws the attention away from it, only for it to come back at a later date. Perhaps, anyway. I don't know. Don't know that for certain. That was just an observation of mine. But yeah, looking forward to seeing what happens there. And of course, look, this could set up a match at Revolution. We would imagine that will be the direction if it's added. I don't know if it has been added at the time of recording, of course. It may not have been added just yet. Now we go into the match that I was really looking forward to from earlier. I mentioned Willow Nightingale and Persephone were getting into the action for the TBS Championship match. Kind of, we were a bit disappointed with it. Willow Nightingale, Persephone. I really wanted to like it. I felt as if when I was waiting for this, when I saw them two were going to compete, I thought this was going to be great. It just felt a little off for me. They sort of took their time to sort of, they would hit a spot and instead of going into the next spot would kind of take their time before they hit it. It just looked a little bit off for both of them. I don't know if it was just one of those things where they haven't wrestled together a lot more. And, sometimes when you just need to have that chemistry, maybe the chemistry ain't there. Maybe it's not going to work between the two. I don't know. Um, but I just feel like it is a little bit off. Nevertheless, having said that, Willow Nightingale is still one of the most over wrestlers in AEW. And on top of that, Persephone is it. She's got it. She's got everything that is there. All the tools in the trade needed to be a success here. And I'm sure that she will. However, on this occasion, Willow Nightingale reversed Persephone's crucifix bomb with a backslide for the win. Hey, inside cradle and a backslide victory on Dynamite. This is unheard of, right? We don't normally get to see that a lot. But a good thing is it kept Persephone strong. The only thing I would say is not to give her too many championship defeats, because we said this about Megan Bayne and how Megan Bayne, the more defeats that she eats in championship matches, the more unlikely it is you would consider her, and the stock drops, and you don't really perceive her as a champion that she really is and looks like. So hopefully with Persephone, I know she's a CMLL champion, but I'm hoping that we see, if she's in another championship match for an AEW championship, I think she needs. I don't think she needs to. Does she need to win the next one? Maybe, but the point I'm trying to make is you can't keep losing championship matches. And although this was the first one for Persephone, we've seen it with Megan Bayne, and we don't really want to see that fall on these championship matches all the time, especially with those ones that perhaps later on down the line. um, could be champions. What we do know is that the Revolution pre-show, the Babes of Wrath are going to be going against Megan Bayne and Alana Cross. Now, we all know that the tag championship was meant to change hands a week or two ago on Dynamite when Penelope Ford unfortunately suffered her injury. We mentioned just now about Megan Bayne and needing to win the championship or needing to win her next championship opportunity. She got a pass last week because of uh, um, the injury. You know, she got with Penelope Ford's injury. Megan Bayne needs to win this on Sunday. Absolutely. I know this is a tag match and Lana could take the pinfall. For me, this championship needs to change hands on Sunday, and it needs to for the sake of Megan Bayne. And I think that both of them together, Lana Cross and Megan Bayne, do look, a really, from a spectacle look, they look great and they perform great in the ring. So this could be a start of how perhaps Penelope Ford gets put out of that group and they continue as Megan Bayne and Lana Cross, perhaps. But either or, Megan Bayne has to win for me on Sunday. She cannot keep losing the championship matches that she gets. Six-man tag team action was next. It was Dem Bucks, Mark Briscoe and the Young Bucks against Tommaso Ciampa and FTR. Lots of palpitations going on here. Obviously, Ciampa beat Briscoe for the championship. FTR have got Young Bucks coming up again at Revolution. This was fun. This was really fun. There were some great table spots in here. There was a power driver on a table as well. I like Ciampa's allegiance with FTR. I'm hoping that it continues. That's although I'm kind of praying it continues for a space of time. They turn on Champa, and then we see Johnny Gargano enter the fray. Perhaps, I feel as if Johnny Gargano is on his way out of WWE, and it would be natural for him to hit an AEW. It would be absolutely, tremendous for him. He'd be the great fit there. I think there's a lot of good work that he can do there as well. So for me, that's where we could be heading. FTR, DIY the Bucks. There's a lot of good stuff going on that potentially could happen there. Anyway, it was the running knee strike from Ciampa on Briscoe that picks up the victory. And again, a really good and sensible booking bit there because if you have one of the Young Bucks or you have FTR eat the fall going into Sunday, they look weakened. So to have Ciampa pin Briscoe, probably the right call on this one, or the other way around could have worked, but then you don't want Ciampa losing too many damaging, like we keep saying earlier on with these championship matches. So the right person pinned the right person in this match going into Sunday. However, we had some more shenanigans at the end here. Champa continued beating up Briscoe before introducing a chair. He hits Briscoe with a chair shot to the back, sets up two chairs together, places Briscoe on the turnbuckle and plants him all the way down onto the chairs on the ring. It was great. I do like how he kissed Briscoe on the forehead as well. Um, Oh, Brian Danielson on commentary as well, which is always great. Telling everyone what a sick human being Ciampa is. I love that. I really did love it. I thought this was great. I feel as if that tag match is going to be fantastic on Sunday. They've never let us down yet, have the Young Bucks or FTR. And I don't think they're going to do so this coming Sunday. But I really think Gargano is that piece needed in AEW just to strengthen that tag division up as well, a little bit as well. Fresh faces, not fresh in terms of wrestling, but fresh in terms of AEW. To put Ciampa and Gargano together would be fantastic in AEW, and I think that would suit them down to the ground, in my humblest of opinions, of course. We have a press conference now as the end, the end piece, which is Hangman, Adam Page, and MJF ahead of their big title showdown this Sunday. And you got to remember that if Hangman Adam Page loses, he can't go for the World Championship again. Um, you know, there's there was a question about if this is for revenge, if this is more than the championship, and he said he's been about the title since 2019, and he would take what MJF holds dear at Revolution. But it was that final question which was interesting, which is who is he without the title? Should he fail to beat MJF on Sunday? And as he does that, Maxwell Jacob Freeman takes a little shot at him, of course, and he's leaving the challenger unable to answer. And then they go to toast, or MJF goes to toast Hangman Adam Page, but he shoves him away, and then the brawl is on. What I would say about this brawl is Bryan Danielson. Like, he's a wrestler. He could have easily had pulled one of them off the other one, and he didn't. He absolutely didn't. And it was ridiculous. I was just like, come on, Brian. You could do it. You could really do it. Security arrives to separate them. Page clears the ring. MJF has that diamond ring, but Page has actually got that scouted and hits Friedman with a dead eye, introduces a barbed wire board and attempts to spike Friedman on top. But it didn't happen, and they taunt each other as it comes to an end. Now, with the ending like that, you again, it does leave it not necessarily obvious. A lot of people are going with MJF, and with Hangman getting the upper hand, you would think that could be the case. However, what you could also say is what you could also say is that MJF hasn't gone through that board. He was scared of the board. So he's going to go through that, and that's how Hangman Adam Page is going to win. Because don't forget, Hangman Adam Page, no more championship opportunities if he loses this match. I still go in with the Swerve Strickland screwing him for one final time, that one piece of revenge, that one bit of the ultimate revenge, really, on Adam Page. That's where I'm going. But we're really looking forward to this coming Sunday at Revolution. Um, Overall, though, really enjoyed this as go home edition. Carl Fletcher, Speedball Bailey, it's up there. It's up there in some of the matches of the year already. Didn't really need the interference at the end, but in terms of in-ring ability, was fantastic. Loved the little exchange between Brody and Swerve. That because that's an interesting. I think that is a sleeper pick this coming Sunday for not only match of the night, but I've just said about match of the year. Swerve and Brody Lee could deliver that this coming Sunday for sure. Uh, it was nice to see Champa going back to that psycho killer roots. He's had an the last few months in WWE didn't work. He come in with a blaze of glory and then AEW winning the, TNT Championship, then losing it quite quickly. You think, is that going to derail him a little bit? The answer to that was categorically no. Him and FTR teaming together have really, really worked. I just hope Gargano comes in to really strengthen that. Um, I did like the fact that Paige didn't get to answer and mumbled the answer to the question about the who are you without the championship. And that makes me think that he is losing on Sunday. Um, it is an interesting one. And it's an interesting way to look at it with Hangman because what does he do if he can't go for that championship? What's left for Hangman Adam Page if he can no longer go for that championship? We'll find out this coming Sunday at Revolution, but that wrapped up a hell of a dynamite this week. I keep saying it every single week. They are on a big time roll, AEW, at the moment. Everything they're doing at this moment in time is working fantastically well, and long may it continue. We will be back with a TNA exclusive interview that we are recording tonight. That will be out next week. You'll see who that is later on this evening. TNA tomorrow, of course. We'll be reviewing Impact Wrestling. Can't wait for that. Ricky Sosa's Impact debut. And of course, we'll be back on Sunday with This Week in Wrestling ahead of Revolution, which will bring the review to you on Monday morning. You can follow us everywhere at HTT Buckle. Just search us. We're there. Go and see our friends also at CCP Podcasting, I Love Wrestling Podcast, The Throwdown with Matt, Wrestling Life, Ministry of Wrestling, Wrestling Junkies, The 10 Count Podcast, Cruising with Kayfabe, FTR Follow the Revolution on Facebook as well. I hope I haven't missed any of you guys out. If I have, I apologize. But until next time, everybody, stay elite, stay safe, and goodbye.